Monday, March 11th. So the introduction to the judicial branch pair deck, that is due today. I call it that in here just to make it a little shorter, but actually what it should end up being is called the judicial branch and organization of the courts pair deck. Again, remember there's the audio that's specific to that and going through that. And remember, you need to answer all the questions all the way to the end. Remember, there's a new format for the audio, and I introduced it at the beginning of the pair deck. The Supreme Court rights of the accused, retakes, those are overdue. Rights of the accused scenarios. I provided video feedback on Fridays for the enrichment. If you did it, I know there's one more person I need to get video feedback too, but that's what's overdue. And a reminder that revising incomplete assignments. So if I tell you to resubmit an assignment, it's less so in this class, a little bit more so in my world history. That doesn't count for the letter grade if it's incomplete. And when I say incomplete, I mean like it's IN in the student view, or I tell you to resubmit it and I make a comment on Classroom that it's incomplete. That means it needs to be done to get credit toward a letter grade and toward the 80% threshold. So again, we've started the introduction to the judicial branch, introduction to the court system. We looked at, in that pair deck, the major differences between the federal and state courts, mostly focused on federal courts, mostly focused on the difference between original and appellate jurisdiction, and also the differences between what criminal civil cases are, what differences between, again, state and federal courts. So to apply some of what we did in that learning with that question, we're going to look at an activity, and this is where I'm going to cut my face out here because I want to get all of it in here. So I'm going to go through some of what's due on Thursday, a jurisdiction activity. Remember, jurisdiction can mean a couple different things. You have court jurisdiction. Remember, you have is it part of civil? Is it part of state or federal court jurisdiction? So is it a civil or criminal case, and what type of jurisdiction? Original, meaning like it's the trial court, it's the court of first resort, or is it a appellate, where it's second and third try on a case based on something being legally not applied correctly, or a lawyer thinking it isn't. So you can look at jurisdiction in several different ways. What level is it? A civil or criminal case? What level of court does it belong at? What type? What state or federal? What type of court does it belong at? Does it belong at a trial court level? Does it belong at a district court level? District court meaning, like in Michigan, we've got into the state courts that extensively. District court in Michigan is mostly for the misdemeanors and for arraignment of felony cases, whereas in Michigan we have circuit court that deals with felony cases. At the federal level, that's called the district court. I go through that in the pair deck, and we'll go through that some more. So our activity today is to look at what, based on different real life scenarios, then what would be the level of jurisdiction, and decide which court would have jurisdiction or the ability to hear the case. So I'm going to cut my fat face out here and go through a couple of these, not all of these. A couple of the more difficult ones. I do the first one for you. Pretty basic. Mr. Smith receives a speeding ticket issued by the new speed cameras. He feels that the cameras were inaccurate. He's taking his case to court. What level of government? What level of government, meaning what level of court here? State would be the one that would handle this. As a speeding ticket. Criminal, brought by the government. An original jurisdiction. It's the first time they heard the case. So some of these I'm going to go through. I'm not going to go through all of. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to go through some of them. But let's go down to the Environmental Protection Agency. And look at imposing a fine on a Detroit company for violating emissions regulations. The company disagrees with the fine and is taking it to court. So this is clearly, the Environmental Protection Agency is a federal agency. This is clearly a federal case. So I'll model what I'm supposed to be doing here. Colors in black. All right. And then now the question is this civil or criminal case? Well, I've told you that it's being brought by a governor, but nobody is being prosecuted and being sent to jail or anything like that. So this is a civil case. They're suing an appeal of fines. and so that makes it a civil case, trying to right a wrong that was done to a person, an injury. Remember the difference between civil and criminal. Civil criminals cases are usually brought by government law, involve some sort of felony or misdemeanor, whereas civil cases are remember I said that they're in the Pear Deck that they're a tort. A tort is trying to remedy an injury against somebody. In this case, trying to remedy what they feel is an unfair fine. Now, this is again imposed a fine. The EPA did this. The company disagrees and is taking it to court. In this case, believe it or not, the EPA is acting as a judge. So this would actually be an appellate case. I know that seems a little strange, and that's why I went through this one, because again, the EPA is acting as a court here. They have their own special court and we didn't get into those extensively, and that's kind of why I went through that one with you. The EPA is acting as a court here. Let's go with copyright infringement. Where's my copyright infringement? Okay, copyright infringement. Now here it is. I'm not going to give all of these. I'm not going to give all this one away. I'm just going to talk about copyright infringement for publishing a book called The Hungry Games. Appeal. Okay, so clearly this is a copyright infringement. It's The Hunger Games, right? He builds his conviction to the felony to the next felony to the next highest court. Okay, so copyright infringement is punishable by a fine, and it's brought by the federal government. The federal government oversees copyright. It's in the Constitution. It's part of the Constitution. They oversee copyright as part of their powers, implied powers in the Constitution. So the federal government oversees that, and they have the right to oversee that. So that would be a federal case here. A federal criminal, actually. I shouldn't have given that way, but I did. Which one do I want to go through? Women in Arizona cutting down an endangered cactus. Endangered plants, animals fall under federal government laws. Okay, so this would actually be a federal government case. And this would actually, you could bring criminal charges against that person for harming an endangered species. They have generally be brought to a federal district court, so it's original jurisdiction. Okay, original jurisdiction there. The pledge. Okay. A student refusing to say the Pledge of Allegiance. He claimed that it violated his rights and he was taken to the office for insubordination. His parents hired a lawyer and claimed the schools had no right to force him to say the pledge. This, because it's a pledge, and the pledge is the part of the federal government, this would actually be a federal rights case. We're talking about civil rights here, federal, the right to freedom of expression or not expression. So what we've done, as you know, in our school, and this is why you don't have to say the pledge, and this is a civil case, not a criminal case, because this has violated his First Amendment right against of freedom of religion, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, that he doesn't have to do this. And the courts have ruled that this is, and all the way to the Supreme Court actually has ruled that saying the pledge cannot be a mandatory activity. Schools can do it, and the state of Michigan has a law that says that public schools have to do it. However, they can't compel students to do it. We can, and we do compel students to remain quiet and respectful during the pledge, but you don't have to stand. You can sit quietly, and that's what some people choose to do. We encourage you to get up and say it. Some people choose to stand and not say it. However, you need to be respectful during the process, and that's why if you have me first, I'm always kind of glaring back at people and stuff like that, just to make sure that that's the case. And I'm sure some teachers do that as well. You don't have to say it. You certainly are encouraged to say it. You don't have to. You can't get in trouble for not saying it, but you do need to be respectful during that period, and that's part of the case that deals with that. is that being a federal case. So what did I just do? Lost my jurisdiction activity. Sorry about that. Trying to get my face back. There it is. Trying to get my face back in it. Okay, so as we continue to look at this, mandatory breaks and minimum wages. Walmart sued for violating breaks, violating laws. This falls under state because the state oversees that. So again, and then state versus state, that would end up in a federal court. State versus state, that would end up in a federal court. I don't want to give all these away. I may do a video looking at these, but take your best stab. Think about, again, what level would hear the case. Think about, remember I told you, think about a couple things. If it's interstate commerce, if it involves, a matter between states, or it involves something that's going to be over the purview of the federal government. Remember I told you money is always the purview of the federal government. It's going to be federal. If it involves, some sort of rights, it would be federal. If it's going to involve some sort of smaller or criminal case that would be within the state, it's going to be handled by the state. Okay. And then the jurisdiction, again, original is the court of first resort. Appellate is if you're taking it to the second or third level. Criminal, if it's brought by a government, is there some sort of crime? Can you be punished for that crime, whether it be a fine or jail or both? And civil is like a person versus a person trying to remedy some sort of wrong for a tort. Okay, so that's due on as I went through some of the examples. So this video was a little bit longer because I was going through some of the examples, which I'm sure that maybe some of you would be happy with. Hopefully.